Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wind Down Friday. Today, it's a pleasure to have our guest, Paul McEnroe. Hi, Paul. How are you?
Good
Welcome.
morning. My pleasure to be here.
Welcome aboard. So, Paul is an award-winning engineer who developed several technologies during his long career, including more than 2 decades in leadership roles at IBM. So Paul is best known for his primary role in developing the Universal Product Code, UPC, the barcode used on every product in supermarkets and the retail industry. So, Paul, where are you located, first of all?
I live in California, near the coast of Southern California, Central California. It's about an hour's drive north of Santa Barbara, about 2 hours north of Los Angeles,
So,
on a
Paul, the
on a
bar
ranch in the country.
good. So the barcode has become an integral part of our daily lives. So tell us what was the initial vision behind its creation? So did you ever anticipate its widespread adoption?
Sure. Um, well, first of all, the way we got started into it is I had been working in IBM for about 10 years, 9 years to be exact. And I had been doing a lot of work on human and computer interfaces, scanning and reading and displays and all that kind of stuff. And then IBM decided in the late 1960s, 1969 to be exact, they wanted to expand their business to more things that were peripheral to computers rather than just mainframes themselves, because they thought the mainframe market was running down. And so they tried to buy some new companies and found out that the people didn't want to be bought by IBM because of the culture, the white shirts and blue coats and singing songs and all that stuff. So uh, then IBM decided to do it internally. And because I was in the business school at Stanford, I just completed engineering schools at several places. And I had this experience at IBM. They asked me if I would pretend to be sort of a venture driven by them being venture capitalists, I would pretend to be an engineering manager and do a startup of some type. I got to pick the business, and I picked point of sale because I studied a lot of different businesses, banking and others like that. There were either something going at IBM that I didn't want to compete with, or it wasn't clear where you were going to go. But the supermarket magazines of the day and the retail magazines of the day, published by the Supermarket Institute and the National Retail Merchants Association, all of those definitely pointed to the needs for item identification, and then
Mhm.
use that item identification, the numbers, to record what the sales are, what the products are, reorder, avoid price marking, do the checkout faster, all of those things. And I saw that 95% of that market was owned by National Cash Register Corporation, whom I had grown up in the shadow of them because I grew up in Dayton, Ohio, and that was their headquarters. And I thought, gee, that great big old piece of cast iron that weighs 500 pounds, I mean, that would be an easy target for what was coming to be integrated circuits. And we did develop integrated circuits in the thing, a total of 300 circuits per chip, which was phenomenal at the time, if you can imagine. Not 300 million, 300. Anyway, so I started them in the point of sale business, and we recognized the need, and the Supermarket Institute did, for coming up with some kind of a symbol so they could get a number on each piece of merchandise, a box of Wheaties, medium size. And then if you did that, then you can control the inventory, you could do the scanning, you could look up the price, but you have to build an entire system around it. So it was a twofold job. It was one, come up with a symbol that is reliable and can easily be read, easy to print, and also uh, to build the system that will scan it, read it, record it, transmit the information everywhere it needs to be transmitted around the store and to the headquarters, and develop the software to support that.
Yeah.
So that's what the whole job was. So it wasn't just an overnight thing. I worked on it full time for 8 years with a pretty good sized team. We started small, just six of us, And then after a few years, we got up into the hundreds.
I guess that a lot of challenges. So maybe you can tell us some of the challenges that you faced during the early days, how you overcame to them. I mean, but also Barcode celebrating 50 years. So also, how do you feel about the Barcode celebrating its 50th anniversary? So what are your thoughts on that? Also, on the impact of global e-commerce and everyday life.
Sure. Uh, well, the last two I'll take first, and then you can send me back to the first one, part of that question. So the
Sure.
middle part was, so what about the 50-year thing? Yeah, well, we didn't think that it was going to last 50 years. We were at first just wondering if it was even going to work, if we'd be able to get it done. And we started on it, as I said, in 69. In 70, the Supermarket Institute came out and formed a committee. They hired a consulting company, McKinsey and Company, to put specifications out, not what it should look like, but how fast it had to be read, how fast the thing could be moved, and so on and so forth, and how many digits it had to have, which was 10 readable digits in addition to a country code and so on and so forth. And so they did all of that. And then we came up with a symbol. So once we got that symbol, and with 14 different companies submitted symbols, 7 were finalists. Ours was chosen as the one. There's more gory details behind that, but that's the basics of it. And when they did pick ours in 1973, 50 years ago this year, we did believe then it was going to last a long time. I would say 25 or 30 years. It took almost 10 years to get to volume. I mean, it takes a while to get all the supermarket people, all the retail people, everything to do it. And so it, that we didn't really see it being so long. So now here it is, 50 years, and now we got 10 billion or so of these being scanned and 10 billion being printed every day around the world. And so the last part of that question was what about the effect on the global economy? Yeah, I don't think we really ever had a feel for that. I mean, just look at a store like Amazon, if you want to call that a store. I mean, or even look at your car, all the parts of the car. I mean, at one point in time, all those little parts have a barcode on them, and they go down automatic assembly lines, and that reads the barcode and it sends it to the right place, and then you got an assembly, but the assembly got a barcode on it too, and so then the assembly goes to somebody who puts it in. They scan it. Okay, does it fit this car? Doesn't it? No, no, wait, that's the wrong one for this model car. So a different one. And the same way with Amazon, I mean, every time you buy a package, I mean, it has to figure out where to go, what line to go down, what box to go in, which other ones are coming with it, all that stuff. So it's kind of hard to imagine the world working as efficiently as it does right now without that. Not to mention this simple little thing about faster checkout at the supermarket, but all these other things are very phenomenal. And yeah, we didn't foresee that. And I do think that it's going to cause the barcode to last a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if it's around in another 30 years. There are other codes that are going to go places. We can talk about those, but they have more data. You can do different applications with them. But for simple reading and replenishing inventory and directing things, it's very fast. It's very simple. It's very easy. It's extremely reliable. We put an immense amount of error correction, error detection, and we put the bars in such a way that they're very easy to read. If you have a printer that's got too much ink, it compensates for the errors. If you got a printer that doesn't have enough ink, it compensates for the errors. If the printer has smear in the direction of travel of motion of the paper that's being printed on, it avoids that. It does all this stuff that other codes that had been around did not do. And that allowed it to get started, because for the first 6 or 8 years, there weren't very many labels printed. It had to all be printed on real cheap in-store printers. And because our code was so rigorous, because it had rigor in the encoding, and I think that's what allowed the whole system to succeed.
So in your book, you talk about right about the power of innovation. So talking to young professional, what advice you give to young professional that are working in tech innovation fields?
Sure. Well, I do think that it's a little bit different than it was when I was starting out. I think one of
Mm,
the major difference is the availability of information through the internet and all kind of media. Because
mm.
in those days when I was doing this, and I'm 86 years old, so I mean I went to college when I was in my 20s, right? 22, I graduated, so that's 64 years ago, and we didn't have any of that kind of thing. So, a college education was kind of the only way you could really get to it and learn how to dig into things and study and so on and so forth. And so it is necessary, but you can do it different ways. And now you can use the internet. You can use a lot of self-study. You can team up with other people and so on and so forth much more easily. You can share things and ideas. And so I think the first thing I would say is you got to be an expert at the field that you're interested in. You got to know about the different technologies and what you might be able to do. And even if you don't know them well enough to be able to do it yourself, if you know it well enough to know that it can be done, then you can think through and then you can use what I think is the second most important thing, and that's the team concept. There's so many things you can do with a team that you can't do by yourself, and you don't necessarily want to try to do it all, especially if you have a system that's going to be several different types of things put together. As I do point out in the book, I got help from so many places in IBM. Uh, uh, we had programs going on 3 continents and in quite a few laboratories around the world, building little parts of this system for us that enabled the code to work very effectively. And so I would tell all those young people out there, solicit friends, talk to other people, treat them all like you'd like them to treat you. And then later on in your career, in 10 years go by, you'd be surprised. Oh, hey, I remember Bill out there in, San Francisco. He had an idea about this. And all of a sudden, if I could solve that idea, I could make this thing work. So I called Bill up, and if you've been good to Bill and everything, he'll probably solve your problem for you, and you get him to help you, whether he's in the same company or another company or whatever. So know your field and don't micromanage people and try to incorporate the help of others and look for things where there's just some simple thing missing and then try to
Mm.
fill in the gap uh, so that you get a system that works and you can help society with that.
So you did manage also a team, managing a team to reach several goals is also a significant achievement. So tell us, could you share some key principles or strategies that you use to lead your team very good, effectively during the development of Barcode?
Sure. Uh, yeah. So it's 69. So just, I was born in 37. So I'm 32 years old. Uh, and I recognized that we needed experts in certain fields. And some of those experts were like in their 50s. They had multiple patents in that field. They had done significant things. And so, number one, you've got to go and put your team together and you got to pick out people that are if you're a big help if you can find them that are team players. Now, there's a few times you come into people who are more roguelike, they want to work by themselves, or they have this characteristic or that characteristic. You have to roll with the punches. You have to let them be who they are. And if there's 3 ways to do something, and you would do it way one, and they would do it way three, and there's another way two, and he wants to do it way three, got to let him do it way three. That's his way, and then you got to support him, and you got to be there for him. And the first 6 people that I got, some of them were older and more experienced, and you know, also if you're in a big company, you have the problem that you might be a young person and they've been around for 20 more years than you, and they're making more money and this and that and the other thing, and they're worried about you manage them because maybe you don't feel like them giving them a nice raise because they're already making more money than you are and everything else. You can't worry about those things. You have to just step back and do what's right and get everybody going along and just keep them focused on the long range objective. This is what we really got to do. Don't worry about, you know, going down a rat hole and solving problems that come up on the side. Focus on the long term, get the team members working together, solicit help, uh, and
Yeah,
you know, those are the best principles of management that you can employ.
really nice talking with you, Paul. I have just the last one. So looking forward, looking ahead. So what do you believe about what do you believe is the future of retail systems, point of sale technologies? So tell us your perspective. How do you see the role of the barcode evolving in the future, in the digital age in particular?
Right. So I think that one of the big involvements has already begun in a pretty good way, and that is the QR code that is an
Yeah,
aerial code. You know, works in two dimensions rather than one, and so you can get an order of magnitude and perhaps more data there. It's takes more intelligence to read it, to study it, to print it, and all that, but it's still quite good. And so I think that that will take over a lot of applications where you need a lot of data. Uh, I think the real simple things that have to work in simple places all around the world, in different countries, especially in third world countries. The barcode is going to be very hard to replace because it's simple. Millions of companies know how to do it. They know how to print it. It's well organized. It's well managed. We have several different organizations that are out there very effectively handing out codes, and we have country codes, and the same thing works all around the world. There's now many companies that know how to decode the system and read it and make it work effectively. We do have things like radio frequency RFID that you don't have to come in contact, you don't have to see the thing, so that can work a little bit. I've moved into ranching, and for example, I like that for ear tags on cows because you can put the reader on the side of the truck the cow's going into, and the cow can it doesn't matter if the cow's a black cow with hair all over the coat. You can't see it at all because it'll transmit through. But it costs a couple dollars per tag, and then the reader's cost and so on and so forth. So you have to really want the data. The QR code is simpler now. Everybody's got an iPhone or any other kind of a smartphone can read a QR code, and so that's quite a bit more data. But it doesn't have the RFID thing, where you have to be able to see it and get a good picture of a QR code, just like the barcode. So those are different applications. So I got a feeling that what'll happen, and of course I don't know, but I got a feeling what'll happen is that the barcode will be pervasive in uh, high market sales, like all supermarkets and uh, Kmart's and Walmart's and volume stores like that. We did a magnetic code using the same encoding, the same ups and downs. They just magnetic instead of optics for retail because they wanted 36 alphanumeric characters when we were coming out in the 60s. And so the reason they wanted so many is they wanted to put the name of the designer of fashion merchandise. They wanted the color and not just red, white, blue, or green, but, chartreuse, or, they wanted a lot of different names for color and so on. So we gave them that, but so many items already were marked with the barcode that most of those stores gave up on all that stuff and decided that they just print that
yeah,
stuff on there to be human readable. I think that'll continue to go that way. So I think the barcode will be pervasive everywhere, except where companies want real special detailed information, they'll put the QR code on. I think the QR code will become much larger. But the barcode is also going to get bigger, and I think it'll be a long time before it goes away. A few
Wonderful.
more decades.
Yeah, exactly. So it has been a pleasure to talk with you, Paul. Thanks a lot. We are in conclusion. Thanks a lot for joining us at Wind Down. Thank you, Paul.
It's
Have a,
my
have
pleasure.
a great have a great weekend.
Thank you very much, and you too. I've enjoyed it very much. Bye bye.